Xiong Yu and Guanping start their fight. Guanping tries to kick Xiong Yu, but Xiong Yu easily blocks it. Everyone is shocked to learn that Xiong Yu knows martial arts. But as Xiong Yu and Guanping are fighting, a man who is watching all this says that Xiong Yu's martial art is good, and he can even go against Guanping. That man wants to compete with Xiong Yu, but just then Guanping tries to kick Xiong Yu. Guanping thinks he knows Xiong Yu's weak point, so he uses his most powerful technique and attacks him. But Xiong Yu says that he never exposed his weak point, but on the other hand, Guanping's weak point is visible. Xiong Yu uses Li Ba Bai technique and attacks Guanping's manhood. Guanping falls on his knee because of pain and everyone is shocked. Xiong Yu goes to his friends and help him. He tells Miss Tong that she was right and all of this is just a misunderstanding. He tells her to move because he wants to take Black Bear to the hospital. Guanping asks Xiong Yu his name and he says to Xiong Yu that he will take revenge for everything. Xiong Yu says to him that he can try whenever he wants, but for now, he should stop this nonsense. And go to the hospital because he's already hurt badly. When Guanping and his fellows left, Black Bear and Monkey say to Xiong Yu that he should teach them martial arts too, so that way they won't be bullied. Just then, Xiong Yu gets a call, and when he tells his friends that he has to pick up the call, this call's from the landlady. She's angry, and she yells at Xiong Yu. She says to Xiong Yu that he promised to cook dinner for them, but he is late. Where is he? Xiong Yu tells Monkey that he has to go and tells him to take care of Black Bear. After saying that, Xiong Yu jumps off from that place. Black Bear says to Monkey that he thinks Xiong Yu is just a lost for years technique. Xiong Yu arrives in front of his building and he goes to the landlady's home. He apologizes for being late, and as he enters, he sees many people there. They all introduce themselves, and the landlady tells Xiong Yu that they are all boarding house guests. Xiao Linteng and her child live in Xiong Yu's apartment, and Xiao Rozhen and Lingteng Zheng live opposite him. She told them that Xiong Yu cooked very well, and she invited all of them for dinner, as it was up to Xiong Yu to save face for her. Xiong Yu at once starts cooking at an amazing speed. Soon he comes back to the room with a lot of dishes. He thanks them for waiting and tells them that he wanted to prepare a Chinese meal for ancient emperors. But because of a lack of ingredients, he could only make 20 dishes, and he apologizes for that. Xiong Yu tells them that the table was ready and they can eat. As everyone starts eating, they can't help but admire Xiong Yu's cooking skills. Xiao Rozhen says to Xiong Yu that his cooking skills are way superior to Mrs. Fatty and Lingting's skills. Lingting agrees and says that Xiong Yu's skills are way superior to the skills of the cooks who are working at the same restaurant as Lingting. She suggests Xiong Yu join her restaurant and says that she'll introduce him to her boss, and they will pay him a salary of 4,000 yuan per month. Lingting Xing couldn't stop himself and said, how can Mrs. Zhao call her workplace a restaurant? It's more like a street stall, as they only have 1 to 2 waiters there. Xiong Yu thanks Lingting for her offer and tells her that he already has a job and he's going to start work soon. Lingtian Zheng says to Xiong Yu that Xiong Yu didn't go to school, so he's not educated, right? What kind of work can he do? Is it a station worker job? Xiao Rozhen stops him and says to Lingting Zheng what he is saying. How can Xiong Yu work as a station worker? But Lingting Zheng says Xiong Yu isn't educated much, so he can only work as a station worker or as a waiter. Then the landlady says to Lingting Zheng that his words are way too harsh. He knows that Zheng Lingting is a waitress, but still has to say these things to hurt others. Zheng Lingting says to the landlady that it was okay. Xiong Yu says that his job is also not a good time. Lingting Zheng says that it is likely what he said. Without high education, how can Xiong Yu find a good job? He and Xiaoru worked way too hard to get hired by the Long Corporation, and it is the best workplace for anyone. The landlady's daughter in surprise asked him if it was true. Her mother asked what was so surprising about that. Is Long Corporation very well known? She tells the landlady that Long Corporation was founded by Long Yongshen, who is one of the richest people in the city. And Long Corporation is one of the top 3 companies in the city, and it is the dream workplace for students like her. She asks Lingting Zheng that his salary and interest are very high. He tells her that he makes 7,000 won every month. Then he asks Xiong Yu about his salary. Xiong Yu says that it's not much. The basic salary is 10,000 won, which shocked Lingting Zheng. Lingting Zheng says that Xiong Yu is just boasting about how a peasant with no high level of education can earn this much. He refuses to believe that. Xiong Yu gives the money that he got a while back to the landlady as rent. So Lingting Zheng comes up with a different idea to save himself from embarrassment. He suggests drinking, but he ends up losing this time too. Sometime later, someone knocks at the door, and when Long Zhu opens it, he sees Mao Zhuji. Xiong Yu looks outside and sees Zhuji. She asks Zhuji about her health and why she didn't rest at her home today. Zhuji tells her that she is fine now and she's just taking a walk when she remembered that Xiong Yu lived here. She came to visit her. Xiong Yu tells Yuji that Xiong Yu is their boarding house guest and says that Yuji should come in to have a meal. Xiong Yu cooks well. After eating, Yuji admires Xiong Yu's cooking and asks him if his major was cooking. Xiong Yu says to Yuji that his cooking skills are just basic, and as for his major is Chinese traditional medicine. His strength is curing people, essentially girls who faint. There's one way to do that, and that is artificial breathing. After hearing this, Yu's face turns red. Xiong Yu notices this and thinks that there is something between Xiong Yu and Yuji, so she immediately tells her mother to come and help her in the kitchen, just to give Yuji and Xiong Yu some alone time, so they can take care of the things between them. As she leaves, Yu asks Xiong Yu about everything that has happened in the morning. Xiong Yu pretends to be innocent and asks her what she is talking about. Yu in frustration yells and says to him that she was the girl who fainted and asks him what treatment he used on her. Xiong Yu says to her that the main treatment was artificial breathing, and as for sub-treatment, he massaged her chest to relieve her of any stress. Yu then tells Xiong Yu to be honest with her about her medical condition. Xiong Yu says that she can choose whether she wants the truth or the lie. The lie is that she can be saved by modern medical treatment, and as for the truth, only he can save her. Yu tells him to stop lying, and she lets this one slide because he saved her. But if he tries to take advantage of her, he knows her father's job is, and her father will not let Xiong Yu go. As Yu leaves, Yeonju says to Xiong Yu that she didn't think that Xiong Yu was so evil, that he will take advantage of a fainted girl. Xiong Yu tries to explain the situation, but just then Xiong Yu's mother opens the door, and the door hits Xiong Yu's back, because of which Xiong Yu ends up grabbing Yeonju's chest by accident. The landlady in anger slaps Xiong Yu and tells him how dare he take advantage of her daughter. Xiong Yu goes to his room and is trying to understand Yuji's medical condition, but just then Xiong Yu hears Lin Tingzhao yelling at Shoruzhen. He goes to hear what they're saying and he finds out that Lin Tingzheng was accusing Shoruzhen about having an affair with Xiong Yu, and in the heat of the moment he slaps Shoruzhen. Shoruzhen says to Lin Tingzheng that they've been dating for the last 3 years, and in these 3 years he's been her 3 times, just because he suspects that she has an affair with other men. She is done with him and it's over between them, and it's time to break up. Lin Tingzheng tries to stop Shoruzhen and says that he still loves her, but Shoruzhen leaves the apartment. Lin Tingzheng follows her and tries to stop her. Meanwhile, Xiong Yu is watching all this, and he thinks that they are headed by the street, and it's the middle of the night, and bad things happen there. Soon Shoruzhen runs into some goons who start to harass her. She tells them to back off, otherwise she will call the police, but the goons threaten her with a knife, and she warns them that Lin Tingzheng would beat them if they didn't stop. But instead of defending her, Lin Tingzheng offers the man some money to let them go. The goon takes the money and threatens Lin Tingzheng and says that he should have left, that they should still have some business with this woman. Lin Tingzheng thinks that he still has his career and his life to worry about, so he runs away, leaving Shoruzhen behind. Shoruzhen calls him a coward, but as the goons were close to her, she prays for someone to help her. Just then, Xiong Yu comes there. He tells the goons to get their dirty hands off Shoruzhen. Shoruzhen asks for Xiong Yu's help and tells him that these men were trying to harm her. The boss of the group warns Xiong Yu that they belong to a Black Dragon Tea Union and the situation will end up becoming bad for him, so he should leave. Xiong Yu says that he is not a fan of quarreling, so they should just fight. One of the goons is the same person who was on the bus and tries to attack Xiong Yu to take his revenge. Xiong Yu easily defeats him, and then he beats the rest of the goons and shaves Shoruzhen. He says to her that she should leave and find a hotel for herself. Shoruzhen thanks him and tells him that all of her money was taken. Xiong Yu thinks that he came here in a hurry, so he doesn't have any money with him, and because of her injuries, she can't go to her company place. Just then, Shoruzhen asks Xiong Yu that if she could spend the night at his place. He unties Shoruzhen and tells her that he knows traditional medicine, and he can do acupuncture on her to help with her facial injuries. He tells her that she can sleep on the bed and that he will sleep on the floor. Shoruzhen thanks Xiong Yu and talks about his medical skills. He says that he learned Chinese medicine. Shoruzhen says that things must be hard for him, and it'll be quite hard for him to get a job. Xiong Yu further tells him that it's unfortunate that he still hasn't got his professional license. Soon they arrive at the building, and Xiong Yu tells Shoruzhen that her apartment light was on, which means Lin Tingzheng made it back. Shoruzhen tells Xiongju to go first as she's used the public washroom, but instead she goes back to her old apartment and hears the sounds that were coming from the apartment. Lin Tingzheng brought his boss home and they were making love while throwing dirt on Shoruzhen's name. They were talking about the fun time that they had during the office, and Zhang Yushen says to Lin Tingzheng that he thinks that she is not as beautiful as Shoruzhen. Lin Tingzheng tells her that Shoruzhen couldn't even compare to her. He says that he broke the relationship as soon as he found out that Shoruzhen had an affair with Xiong Yu. Then Zhang Yushen asks about the relationship, and she promises that she'll treat her way better than Shoruzhen. As they start to make love, Shoruzhen, who was standing outside, was furious. She will show Lin Tingzheng that she is happy without him, and she goes back to Xiong Yu's apartment. Xiong Yu says to her that he was waiting for her and he has even sanitized the silver needles. She should tell him where her wounds are. Shoruzhen says to him their wounds are not visible with her dress on. Meanwhile, she's saying in her mind that Lin Tingzheng made the first move and he can't blame her now. She suggests that she'll take off her dress, because of which it'll be easier for Xiong Yu to treat her. After he treats her, Xiong Yu tells her to calm down while he has a nosebleed. He says that he is not the kind of man who will take advantage of a girl. Now Xiong says to Xiong Yu that the bed was big enough for both, and that he shouldn't sleep on the floor because it'll be bad for his health. Further, she can't allow him to sleep on the floor after he helped her so much. Xiong Yu insists that if she trusts him that much, he will. Xiong Yu contemplates how anyone can control themselves in the situation that he is in. He then shifts his focus towards preparing himself for his hospital visit tomorrow, and making sure he doesn't take advantage of Xiorozhen, using his powers to control his inner desires. The next day, Xiorozhen wakes up and notices that Xiong Yu is hard as wood and decides to find the landlord to get herself another room, while Xiong Yu sleeps. Xiorozhen opens the door and sees Lin Tenzheng and his boss, Shilan, standing outside. Lin Tenzheng asks Xiorozhen why she's coming out of Xiong Yu's room. Lin Tenzheng and Shenlin start accusing her of sleeping with Xiong Yu only a day after breaking up with him and moving in with him. Xiorozhen yells at them, telling them to stop accusing her of all these things. Lin Tenzheng thanks Xiorozhen for breaking up with him so that he can finally be with Shenlin now. Xiong Yu grabs Xiorozhen and tells him that Lin Tenzheng is saying thank you for leaving Ruzhen so he could meet her and to stay out of their business.